morning, my beautiful crypto queens and Casanovas. Welcome back to another episode of the Blockchain Report, the show where we take all the crypto madness, AI brain melting, and Web3 wizardry and break it down for you without all the jargon and confusion. So whether you're here for the money, the tech, or just the procrastinate, we've got you covered. We're broadcasting live from San Francisco, the city where even pigeons have their own startups, and the weather can't decide if it's summer or the apocalypse. It gets weird out here. I'm Hank Hudson, your digital tour guide through this ever-shifting, mind-bending world of tech and finance. But don't worry, we'll make it so easy even your dog could probably invest after an hour with us. But before we dive into this chaos, go ahead and smash that like, follow, and subscribe button for Roxham TV and Hank at Roxham TV across all platforms in the world. Because honestly, who wants to do the research themselves when you could just watch us instead? We've got a ton of crazy stories for you today, so grab your coffee and let's get into it. Our top stories of the day is first, what to expect at tomorrow's crypto summit and who's confirmed to attend. More on that shortly. We have the latest predictions of what Bitcoin will blast off to later this month. And of course, we have a push from the liberals in Japan to cap the crypto tax rate to 20%. It looks like I might be moving somewhere else. That and more in just a second. But first, today's market rundown. Yep. All right, so today we have a lot going on in the world of crypto in the stonk market. First, we have Bitcoin standing pat at around $90,000. We're expecting big news in the crypto summit tomorrow, but we haven't seen a ton of volatility just yet. But I would expect that in the near future. Of course, this is not financial advice of any kind. We have Ethereum sitting at around $2,300 a pop, XRP at around $260. Cardano taking a bit of a slip today, down 4% at around 93 cents, and Dogecoin, everyone's favorite meme, at around 20 cents a coin. In the stonk market, we have the Dow Jones sitting at about 4,300 bucks, the Nasdaq down a percentage point at near 18,300. We have the S&P also down close to a percentage point at 5,800. MicroStrategy seeing a nice gain on the day at about 2.5 percentage points. As usual, going in accordance with the price of Bitcoin. Where Bitcoin goes, Michael Saylor is always sure to follow. And we have Tesla having another down day at around 3.5%. A lot of bad reports coming from Tesla recently, some decreased sales across Europe, and people aren't loving all the stuff that Elon is doing, and it is directly affecting the price of Tesla. At least it has in the short term, as they have taken some immediate decreases in price in the last month or two. And we have Nvidia also down about 2.5 percentage points. So we're going to be right back with today's bull run right after this ad from our sponsor.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
All right, folks, it's time for this morning's bull run, where we go over the top stories of the day. And hold on to your hats, because March 7th is about to go down in the annals of crypto history. The White House is hosting its first ever crypto summit, and this isn't your typical White House get-together. We're talking about a highly anticipated roundtable where industry bigwigs and Washington's finest will meet to discuss the future of crypto. So what are we looking at here? Is this just a glorified networking event, or will we see some real action on Friday? Spoiler alert, it's probably a little bit of both. But let's rewind here for a second, because for months, the rumor mill has been buzzing with chatter about this upcoming summit. It all started when David Sachs, Trump's AI and crypto czar, revealed the plans. Can we get that picture up for him? Yeah, I made that one. You like that? He's a czar. When do we start calling politicians czars? That's not a good look. Now, according to Sachs, this summit will bring together a slew of high-profile crypto executives and policymakers to discuss regulation, policy frameworks, and maybe, just maybe, lay the groundwork for a U.S. crypto reserve. Or should I say, a Bitcoin reserve, God willing. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's dive deeper into what we can actually expect from this event. First, let's get the guest list made by Cointelegraph, because that's really what everyone is buzzing about here, is the guest list. We're talking about a true who's who of crypto leadership. The already confirmed names include Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse, who, by the way, has been a Trump supporter since way before it was cool, MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor, Paradigm's co-founder Matt Huang, and even Sergey Nazarov from Chainlink. So this is not your average crypto meetup. These are the big dogs. Woof! Now, Garlinghouse has been pretty vocal about his involvement as he tweeted back on March 2nd, "I will certainly continue to champion this while in Washington at the end of this week." He has been actively supporting pro-crypto lawmakers, and his attendance was almost a given. But wait, there is more. According to the rumor mill, other big name execs might show up as well, like Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, Gemini's Winklevoss twins, and Kraken's Jesse Powell. I tried to get these guys doing a beer bong because that's kind of how I imagine them together, but this was the best I could get, was them kind of holding each other's leg, you know. Thanks, Grok. But I don't want you guys to get too excited just yet. No others have actually confirmed at this point, so we're still waiting to get that info, and we'll be providing that to you as we learn more. So we're going to have to wait and see who actually rolls up to the White House for this very highly, highly exclusive event. But here's where things start to get even more interesting. While many of the names above are confirmed, there's an even larger question hanging over the event. Will any of the crypto outsiders, like Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin or Tether CEO Paolo Andoino, get an invite? And I don't know if you guys have noticed, this is kind of a running joke of the show. Vitalik Buterin absolutely loves Mudang, so every single photo I ever have of him going forward will be him playing with Mudang, because that little pygmy hippo is just so adorable. Now, at this point, this is a little unclear, but it's hard to imagine a crypto summit of this magnitude without including some of the most influential figures in the space, including Vitalik and our little buddy Mudang. Now, maybe they'll receive invitations to join the conversation after the event to discuss their role and influence in the crypto space. But at this point, your guess is as good as mine. And for those who don't make it inside the roundtable, don't worry, there's still hope. The White House is apparently planning an even bigger invite-only reception across the street from the summit. That's the one I want to go to. And everybody knows the after party is where things really happen. Now, here's where things start to get a little more speculative. But trust me, it's juicy. The crypto community is hoping and praying that this summit is where we get the official confirmation of a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. And we're not talking about a couple of Satoshis here. No, we're talking about a full-on Bitcoin strategic reserve that could, in theory, change the entire financial landscape. In fact, we have a clip here from Michael Saylor on the upcoming crypto summit at the White House. Can we run that clip, guys?
Tokens. What is that going to do to the price? I mean, supply goes down, the price goes up?
Well, the most responsible thing would be to go slow and steady and deliberate with clear telegraphing and transparency, so that the real key about Bitcoin is for people to understand that it's digital property. It's a savings account that empowers every single American to save their wealth and preserve it over time. And so what the government can do is to give clarity to the asset class and confidence to every American citizen, so they know they have an alternative to gambling and the stock market.
What would you say to the Bitcoin real believers, the real early acolytes who loved it because it doesn't attach itself to any government? And now the government, the U.S. government, is going to be buying it if this does get approved. How do you square that with the people who say, wait, I don't want the U.S. government involved in this?
Satoshi gave us a protocol for prosperity. That's what we call Bitcoin. And it was a great opportunity for empowerment for 8 billion people. But also, there are 400 million companies that need it. There's also every country on earth that needs it. So it's logical that a country that is interested in economic empowerment and prosperity is going to adopt Bitcoin in the same way that a company like mine, in the same way that an individual would.
Our Lord and Savior Michael Saylor never one to disappoint. Meanwhile, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has already hinted that Trump's team is seriously considering going forward with a full-on Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now, Lutnick was recently quoted saying, "The president definitely thinks there's a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and while we've heard whispers like this before, having it come from such an influential figure definitely carries some weight." Now, could this be the beginning of the U.S. positioning itself as the leader in the digital asset space, hedging against a rapidly depreciating dollar by stacking up on Bitcoin? It's certainly possible, but we still don't know yet for sure. The summit, however, could be a game changer if it confirms what everyone's already hoping for. But hold on to your horses here, gang. This isn't a done deal just yet. The summit's main focus, according to sources, is really just about figuring out how to regulate the ever-evolving crypto landscape. Now, with Bitcoin leading the charge, or we will see if other altcoins like Solana, Cardano, or XRP get their fair share of the pie as well, that's the million-dollar question that everyone's asking, and we'll just have to wait and see for the summit to actually figure out what happens with Bitcoin and those other coins that have been mentioned previously. But if we get confirmation of a Bitcoin reserve, well, get ready for some epic memes and possibly some epic price movements. Now, let's talk about the meat and potatoes of the event. While we don't have an official agenda yet, because of course the White House likes to keep us on our toes, we can make some educated guesses here. The summit will likely focus on crafting policy framework for crypto and blockchain regulations in the United States. And this isn't just about throwing policy ideas around like a game of digital hot potato like we've seen before. According to sources close to the event, it seems like the Trump administration might want to create a more comprehensive regulatory framework for crypto. So if you're hoping to see some clarity on how exactly the US plans to deal with crypto exchanges, stable coins, and even the rapidly emerging world of DeFi, this summit could be a step towards that. But it's not just about regulation. There's also the issue of centralization of crypto. You know, the part where the US government might decide which coins get the official stamp of approval and which ones get left behind. So definitely expect some serious discussions about how the United States will handle decentralized finance versus traditional financial systems. Will they play nice, or will the government try to wrestle control over digital assets like it does with the traditional banking system? And let's not forget, of course, about XRP. You know, the XRP army certainly isn't. It's been all over the headlines lately, especially with Trump's administration making noise about creating a strategic crypto stockpile. Could XRP become part of this stockpile? Maybe. I mean, after all, Garlinghouse has supported Trump in the past, and Ripple has been a major player in crypto's Washington lobbying efforts. Now, if XRP gets a seat at this table, expect the XRP army everywhere to make their voices heard, as if they weren't doing that already. Now, despite of what you may think, not everyone is raising a glass to this summit. Some are pointing fingers at Trump's past ventures, particularly his January launch of a meme coin. You remember that one, right? Yeah, let's just say some of the people didn't exactly love Trump coin. Now, while Donald Trump's administration has been pro-crypto in its rhetoric, his meme coin project certainly raises some eyebrows, and it probably should. Critics have slammed the project as a cash grab and a way for Trump to rake in millions of dollars from trading fees. Is this what we want from the leader of the free world? A shady meme coin operation? I'll let you decide. But hey, politics are always messy, right? So let's just take a deep breath and wait for the crypto summit to play out. We'll probably have plenty to talk about after March 7th, and who knows, maybe this summit will actually lead to some meaningful change in how the US handles crypto. Or maybe it'll just be a glorified photo op for crypto execs who like to hang out with politicians. Either way, stay tuned because this is far from over. Now we're bringing in the studio one of our friends of the program. This is Joe Epple, a product manager at Xapo. Joe, how are you this morning, my friend?
Morning, Hank. I am doing super well. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's awesome having you on the show this morning. I would love to get your first thoughts about the Crypto Summit. What are you expecting? What are you hearing? What are you looking forward to as someone who's at the tip of the spear in the crypto space?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show, Hank. I mean, the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in the biggest economy in the world, it kind of says one thing, I think, to everyone watching, which is that the case for Bitcoin, the case for Bitcoin as an asset for governments, for individuals, has never been stronger. And when we see the US government leading the way in a situation where at the moment only something like 1.4% of Bitcoin supply is actually owned by governments, I think we're in for a really big ride. And I think it's a super exciting time to be in this space. Expectations wise, we're hoping we're going to see some clear regulatory frameworks around crypto, whether that's in the form of an executive order or whether we're going to see legislation pushed through Congress. Maybe Senator Loomis's bill will come back. That's really going to determine, I think, the depth of the bull run or the depth of the price movement that we see. But absolutely very exciting times and a great moment to be thinking about where's your Bitcoin strategic reserve as an individual and where are you keeping it safe?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Xapo Bank is on the absolute forefront of that. Do you actually expect some real conversations and maybe even regulations to get passed or spoken about? I know a lot of Donald Trump's rhetoric, especially since he's been president, is about a pro-crypto America, but we haven't really seen any meaningful actions take place yet. This would seemingly be a catalyst for that. Or do you think that this just might be more of kind of a PR stunt to get more people from the crypto community on Trump's bandwagon?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question on all of our minds. The devil will certainly be in the details of what the outcomes and what the actual, well, initially the agenda is of the summit. I think we're all hoping that we're going to see some real concrete movement. I think for the first time ever, we have a Congress that is more than 50% pro-crypto. And so the ground is ripe for some real regulatory progress to be made. And I really hope that the powers that be seize this opportunity because it's in the best interests of all of us, the retail consumers and the more institutional investors in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Xapo, what are you guys expecting to hear or hoping to hear from this summit? Do you think that if there's a Bitcoin strategic reserve announcement, this could be a catalyst for other countries also starting to, put similar measures in their own government systems as well? Could this just be the straw that broke the camel's back in the best way possible?
I mean, I think absolutely, right? The US, as the leader of the free world, tends to lead and others follow. So if we see the United States putting in place, such a difference from the previous administration with Operation Choke Point 2.0. Now we're talking about pro-crypto legislation, pro-crypto SEC. I think it really opens the space for mainstream institutional and also governmental adoption. And what that means, considering that at the moment, something like 69% of all Bitcoin supply is owned by individuals, and some of those individuals are Xapo customers, that supply shock is going to mean that suddenly we have a lot more super wealthy individuals out there whose Bitcoin is in very high demand. And so at Xapo Bank, we're expecting to see a surge in demand for a safe place to keep what maybe was a couple $1,000 a few years ago, now a couple of $1 million. People, we hope, will be coming to us as the place to store their Bitcoin, to keep it safe, and to grow their Bitcoin wealth.
What do you see in terms of how this will affect institutional and retail investors going forward? We're clearly seeing the maturation process of the crypto and specifically Bitcoin community evolve before our eyes right now. Do you think this will really start the process of getting people to consider crypto in the same breath as traditional stocks and assets?
I really think it will. And I think the key to that is sensible regulation that takes crypto as not some kind of fringe game or gambling crypto casino, but as a real financial instrument in much the same way as stocks and bonds and ETFs, and actually bringing it into mainstream finance. And I think we've been seeing that movement happen slowly with the approval of ETFs in the US and various other places. And we've been seeing it slowly within countries like El Salvador, adopting Bitcoin as an official legal tender. But I think the US government, being the biggest, most powerful economy in the world, making a very positive, clear statement and intention is really the most bullish signal we could possibly get on the mainstream adoption, not just by governments, but also by institutions. And at the moment, I think businesses own something like 4%, 4.5% of existing Bitcoin supply. Most of that's Michael Saylor, probably. The demand is going to be high and the supply is limited. So it's a great place to be, I think.
Absolutely. And with big events like this, I'm always curious to hear from insiders like yourself. You always wonder what the Bitcoin price is going to do. How is it going to reflect these events? You would think something like this, which seems very pro-crypto, very pro-Bitcoin, would cause a massive increase in the price, at least in the short term. But right now I'm looking at the charts and we're not seeing anything too volatile at this point. Do you think that might already be kind of baked into the price? Or do you think we could expect some volatility one way or the other once we get more information from this crypto summit? Because I think there's one thing that we can agree on is if you've been following Bitcoin for a long time, it never seems to do exactly what you think it will do in the short term, but in the long term, we can always seemingly expect it to keep going up. But in the short term, what are you guys at Xapo kind of expecting Bitcoin to do as a result of this summit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a question on everybody's minds, right? I think the last couple of weeks and months have shown us that Bitcoin is not immune to the global macroeconomic environment and geopolitics. I think, the tariff, the trade war situation has definitely directly impacted traditional finance as well as Bitcoin and other, decentralized finance. And I think, again, it comes down to what is actually going to be the outcome of the summit. Are we just going to have a talk shop? Are we just going to see, as you said, like a networking event? Or are we actually going to have some concrete steps going forward that is going to position the US as the leader in the crypto space? And I think if that is the outcome, my expectation would be up and to the right with Bitcoin on the price chart. And I'd be surprised if we see otherwise. However, as I said, it also depends what happens geopolitically and across the rest of the world's economy.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it's encouraging that we've kind of seen, specifically as of late, Bitcoin's pricing has gone in very much accordance with how the overall market sentiment, specifically the NASDAQ, which we have seen before, has been kind of moving? Is that an indication that these are being kind of held by a lot of people within the same frame of mind, that like, hey, Bitcoin and crypto in general is being thought of as a similar asset class to traditional stocks? Because we've been waiting for that decoupling we've heard of before, where they'll kind of do their own thing aside from where the NASDAQ specifically has moved. Do you think, though, this might actually be a positive sign as we're seeing it move in accordance the same way the stock market is with events that are affecting the stock market, specifically the tariffs? That's really been hurting the stock market as of late, and it seems to have been doing the same thing as crypto. Is that a positive thing, you think, or maybe a negative thing?
It's definitely a point that's open for debate, and I think depending on where you sit in the crypto world and your views, whether you're a complete Bitcoin maxi or not, I think that will determine how you think about it. From my perspective, I see it as another signal that Bitcoin is being treated as a mainstream financial asset class, and I think right now where we are as an industry, that is not a bad thing. I think we want to see people thinking of Bitcoin in the same light that they think of other investment vehicles. I think ultimately, as more companies and more countries start to build strategic reserves of Bitcoin, we would see that volatility start to decouple a bit, because if you're building a strategic reserve, you're not buying and selling it, you're keeping it, right? And you're keeping it somewhere safe. So
right.
I think, again, if we're seeing the US developing that strategic reserve and it's largely Bitcoin backed, and we start to see of the supply that exists, most of that starting to sit, or a lot more of it starting to sit out of individuals' pockets and more in institutional and government pockets, maybe we'll see a bit more of a decoupling. But for now, I think it's a positive signal of adoption.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And before we move on to our next story, Joe, what is the one thing that you would be hoping to see as a result of this summit tomorrow?
So I think for me, it's what I would love, your everyday person out there who maybe has got a little bit of Bitcoin or bought some back in the day or hasn't made their first purchase yet, to start thinking, if the biggest economy in the world, if the most powerful nation on earth is now considering Bitcoin as a viable option a hedge against their own currency, a hedge against the world's economy, maybe it's time for me to do a bit more of that myself. And I think the next question then is, if I'm holding this digital gold, if I'm hedging against everything, how am I going to keep it safe? And I really hope an outcome is people looking for regulated, safe institutions that have a massively successful track record, such as Xapo Bank, in keeping your Bitcoin as safe as it can be and enabling it to grow your wealth, just like any other financial instrument. And so for me, that would be the real win.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, Joe, hang tight. We're going to bring you back in a sec. I got a couple other stories here we're going to bring to the table, and I'm going to have you back here in just a minute. Our next story, gang, I want you to hold on to your wallets because Japan's ruling party has dropped some serious news for crypto investors. They're proposing a drastic reduction in the tax rate on crypto gains, dropping it from a punishing 55% to a much more palatable 20%. So yeah, that's quite the change there. I know it's kind of like they just woke up and realized that taxing the future of finance at a higher rates than income tax isn't exactly a growth strategy, but hey, it sounds like they might be learning. Now, this shift comes from the Liberal Democratic Party, who published a regulatory reform proposal that would reclassify cryptocurrencies from their current status as miscellaneous income to financial products. And folks, we're talking about treating crypto like stocks here. So if you've been sitting there wondering when crypto would finally be recognized as a legitimate financial asset, this might be your answer. But why does this matter? Well, Japan is one of the biggest players in the global crypto scene, and this move could be a game changer for the market. Now, if the tax reduction goes through, it could set a global precedent. Investors will be flocking to Japan, and maybe, just maybe, this will push other countries to rethink their own tax policies. We're looking at you, red, white, and blue. But don't get too excited just yet, gang. The proposal is still in its feedback phase until March 31st, so there's plenty of time for changes. But if it passes, well, expect to see a whole lot of Japanese investors suddenly finding themselves with a little more room in their portfolios. So, Joe, what do you think about this tax reduction in crypto gains in Japan? What do you make of that? First thoughts.
Great time to be a crypto holder in Japan. First thoughts, definitely better than yesterday. And Xapo actually has a pretty good presence in Japan. We've got a fairly large customer base there. But my first thoughts, much like the crypto summit, is this is another really positive signal of governments seeing Bitcoin, seeing crypto as a legitimate financial class and asset, and that should be regulated in much the same way. And that's a really positive signal that one of the largest economies in the world is following suit and is starting to implement legislative changes that reflect that.
Yeah, and they said March 31st is a pivotal date for this new, action to potentially gain steam. Do you think it's going to be influenced by what happens at the crypto summit in the USA tomorrow?
I think definitely the US and Japan have a very strong diplomatic and economic relationship. If we see the summit pulling out a really concrete set of next steps around legislative changes to be made, around regulatory changes to be made, I would think that would only strengthen the hand of the Liberal Party in Japan to get their changes passed and to potentially even go further, all of which I think would be incredible news for our Japanese customers and also for Bitcoin holders around the world.
Yeah, it's feeling more and more like tomorrow might be the match that lights or ignites the entire forest fire. So we're just going to have to wait and see, as tomorrow is going to be a truly pivotal day in the cryptoverse and maybe financial history, but we'll just have to wait and see until then. We're going to be right back with you in a second, Joe. And gang, I want you to hold on to your seats for this one because Melius, the Brazilian fintech unicorn, is making a move that should have traditional finance shaking in its boots. They've officially hopped on the Bitcoin train, and they're not just waving from the platform, they're driving the damn thing. Now, Melius is dabbling in Bitcoin. Now, they're going all in, allocating up to 10% of their cash reserves into Bitcoin. Now, 10% is no small chunk of change here, gang. They're treating Bitcoin like it's the future of finance, and honestly, who could blame them? This is a company that's truly putting their money where their mouth is and making a bold bet that Bitcoin will continue to grow and outshine other traditional assets. Now, this isn't some isolated incident either. This is part of a growing trend where actual companies are waking up to the fact that Bitcoin just isn't a speculative asset. It's the future of wealth preservation. Now, Melius might be a bit of a trendsetter in Brazil, but they won't be the last company to realize that stashing money in a bank account earning next to nothing just isn't cutting it anymore. Already, Melius has spent a cool $4.1 million on nearly 46 BTC, and they set up a Bitcoin strategic committee to ensure their growing stash is managed properly. Now, this is no joke. Bitcoin is now part of their core treasury management strategy. That's how seriously they're taking this. And if the idea of a traditional finance holding Bitcoin sounds like a dream, Melius is making it a reality. In a world where inflation is eating away at fiat currency like a hungry beast, Melius is betting big that Bitcoin will preserve value and outperform the traditional financial system. The committee will be in charge of evaluating how to grow this Bitcoin stash and make it a key player in the company's future. Now, if this trend continues and keeps growing, you can bet your bottom dollar that the more companies will start following Melius's lead. The idea of Bitcoin as a strategic asset is no longer just for individual investors or the occasional hedge fund. Bitcoin is moving into the mainstream here, gang. The future is here, and Melius is showing everyone the way forward. Now, Joe, what do you think about this? This kind of seems more along the trends we've been seeing. We've seen it from MicroStrategy, and there's companies in Japan that are putting it on their books, something World Planet, it's escaping me currently, and now we have South American companies putting Bitcoin in their stash. This just seems bullish all around, and I think we can probably expect more of this in the future. What do you think?
Completely. I mean, I think the figure is 139% increase in businesses owning Bitcoin since 2023. So we're seeing large scale adoption on the business side. Of course, it's still like a fraction of the pie to be had, but it's a very bullish signal. It's also really cool to see this coming from an emerging market like Brazil. I live in South Africa, another emerging market. And I think the risks that we have to hedge in emerging markets are far greater than those in more developed economies. And Bitcoin, if it's good enough for the US government as a potential strategic reserve and a potential hedge against inflation, certainly should be good enough for any company or individual or country in more emerging markets where inflationary risks and geopolitical risks are much higher. So absolutely. Super bullish news.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we've seen in certain countries in South America, inflation is running rampant. So do you expect maybe even South America as a whole to get on the board maybe a little faster than some of the other continents out there? Because I know specifically they have really faced some difficult inflationary problems in the in the very recent future. Or excuse me, past.
Absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Zappo Bank, our founder, our origin is in Argentina, and a country which has been faced with multiple bouts of hyperinflation. And hyperinflation is an easy thing to talk about, but at a local personal level, and it's something I myself have lived through growing up in Zimbabwe, it really is something that destroys your lives, destroys your wealth, and it makes it really, tough for your general population to pick that up and rebuild. Bitcoin is the obvious hedge against that. It enables your population to be protected from whatever crazy policy your government comes up with. And I think in countries where hyperinflation is really rampant, where inflation generally is eating away at your savings, the ability to have something like Bitcoin hedging your wealth against, especially in a place like Zappo Bank, where you can keep it offshore, keep it safe from your government, and also grow your wealth at the same time with any one of our financial instruments, I think it's really like the perfect market and the perfect environment in which Bitcoin and products that offer Bitcoin can thrive.
Having you on the show, and we're so excited to have you as a friend of the program going forward. Joe Eppel with Zappo Bank. Joe, thanks for your time, and we can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Hank. I had a great time. Cheers.
Pleasure was all mine. See you till next time. All right, boys and girls, get your countdown clocks ready, because March 25th is shaping up to be a game-changing day for Bitcoin. That's right. Bitcoin could be about to break through the roof and leave everyone wondering why they didn't buy more when it was just 20K. Why didn't I? Now, if you've been waiting for Bitcoin's next breakout, this could be the day, so mark your calendars. But what is so special about March 25th, you ask? Well, the stars are beginning to align. Global liquidity is set to hit new highs, and guess what? The US dollar is starting to show its age. When the dollar weakens, Bitcoin becomes the go-to safe haven for investors, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Bitcoin thrives in times of uncertainty, and with the dollar facing pressure, expect to see a lot of folks flocking to Bitcoin as their hedge. Now, Bitcoin has proven time and time again that it's the digital store of value when everything else is falling apart. And as the dollar continues to slide, the only thing that seems poised for growth is BTC. And as we've seen in the past, Bitcoin moves dramatically in times like this, and March 25th could mark the beginning of a whole new chapter. So if you're still on the sidelines, now might be a time to reconsider your position. Analysts are already calling March 25th as the blast-off date, and the logic behind that prediction is kind of hard to ignore. As the dollar weakens and the global liquidity rises, Bitcoin is poised to take center stage. So get ready for some serious fireworks, hopefully of the good kind, not the kind that blow off your hand like my cousin Ned. That was stupid of you, Ned. Now, if the predictions hold up, Bitcoin could be about to blast off to new all-time highs, leading haters everywhere in the dust. The countdown is on, and if you're holding BTC, March 25th might just be your best day yet. You've been warned, Bitcoin's rocket ship is fueling up. Don't miss the ride. And it looks like we've got another crypto-friendly politician on our hands here. Representative Mike Collins, the Georgia congressman, just announced that his congressional campaign is now officially accepting cryptocurrency donations. That's right. As of March 5th, you can toss a little Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even Dogecoin into Collins' campaign war chest. And we're not talking about just a few coins either. He's rolling out the red carpet for donations in BTC, ETH, Litecoin, Doge, Solana, and even USDT. In his statement, Collins said, "America has been held back by our reluctance to adapt emerging technology. Whether that be AI, machine learning, or alternative assets like crypto, I hope that by introducing this platform, I can destigmatize the crypto industry." And let's be clear, he's not just a guy riding the crypto wave, he's been living in it. Collins already disclosed $65,000 worth of Ethereum purchases back in 2024, along with altcoin buys in Velodrome, The Graph, and Aerodome Finance. But wait, it gets even better. He also threw some of his cash into Ski Mask Dog, a meme coin launched in 2024. Yeah, you heard that right. He's staking out his position in crypto like a seasoned investor, and now he's opening up his campaign to it as well. Now, this move is a huge deal because it signals a shift in how politicians and campaigns are seeing crypto. It's no longer just something for tech bros and libertarians to get excited about. Crypto is officially a legitimate political asset, and Collins is positioning himself as one of the leaders in this crypto political revolution. Now, what does this mean for the future? Well, it's clear that crypto is gaining legitimacy in the political world. More candidates, including presidential hopefuls like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Vivek Ramaswamy, have also jumped on the bandwagon, announcing they'll accept Bitcoin for their own campaign donations. So Kennedy called Bitcoin an asset that promises freedom, individual liberty, and democracy. And I love all of those things. Ramaswamy said, let's make the 2024 election a referendum on fiat currency. I mean, even President Donald Trump is on board. His campaign also accepts crypto donations, including BTC, ETH, Doge, and a couple others. So it's official. The idea of accepting crypto donations is becoming a serious political move. And if Collins is any indication, it looks like more and more lawmakers are realizing that accepting crypto could be a powerful tool in reaching a new generation of voters. Of course, this move comes alongside a broader regulatory shift in the United States. Since Trump's re-election in 2024, the government's stance on crypto has undergone a dramatic pivot. The Securities and Exchange Commission dropped several high-profile lawsuits against crypto firms, and there's been a noticeable shift towards opening up communication with industry leaders. So, What's next? More crypto-friendly politicians? More campaigns jumping on the bandwagon? One thing's for sure, crypto isn't going anywhere. And if you're wondering if Representative Collins' campaign is a sign of things to come, the answer is probably. As more candidates embrace crypto donations, it's only a matter of time before it's a standard part of every political campaign in America. And really, who can blame them? The times are changing, and it looks like crypto's getting its moment in the spotlight. We'll be right back after this. All right, buckle up, gang. It's time for another edition of Whale Watch, where we track the biggest players in crypto, and boy, today, we've got a doozy. Cardano, or ADA, everyone's favorite underdog crypto that we love to talk about at parties but secretly hope doesn't show up to the dinner table, is making quite the splash. And guess what? It's all because of whales. Big, fat, juicy, blubbery whales. For those of you that might have been living under a rock, or dare I say, hodling, Cardano has been riding high in the news that it's been included in the US Strategic Crypto Reserve. And you heard that right. Cardano, along with BTC, Ethereum, and a few other heavy hitters, are now part of the US Crypto's Ecosystem Foundation. Because why not? If you're gonna pick a couple of cryptos to stockpile like gold bars, you might as well grab a little ADA along the way. Now, Cardano isn't just soaking up the limelight from its new government endorsement. The whales have been swimming into Cardano waters like it's a Shark Week feeding frenzy. On March 4th, the analytics platform Santiment reported a whopping 1,132 whale transactions in just a single day. That's a whole lot of heavy lifting for one cryptocurrency. But wait, there's more. Over 2,600 transactions exceeded $100,000. So that's right, gang. Big money, big moves. You could say the whales are buying in like it's the last sale on Black Friday and they need those limited edition Cardano tokens before the shelves are wiped clean. But you might be asking, why the sudden surge in whale activity? Well, ADA reached a high of 113 recently, triggering what can only be described as a whale of a good time. Get it? You got it. Now, when you get big guys like this entering the market, it's like watching your local grocery store stocking up on avocados right before guacamole season. It's a sign, a big, fat, obvious sign that something's happening. And ADA's not just hanging out, waiting for the whales to do all the work. Nope, it's showing some serious resilience. In just the past 24 hours, ADA's price shot up a solid 21%, and now it's hovering around 99 cents, almost $1, with a 45% increase in the weekly chart. So let's face it, ADA is definitely pulling their weight in the crypto gym right now. But what's really got people excited is the futures market, because open interest has surged by more than 6% in just the last 24 hours, with over 905 million Cardano on the line. That's about $842 million in ADA. That's some serious cheddar, folks. But don't get too comfortable, because there's a plot twist. Cue the dramatic music, gang. The regulatory landscape is beginning to shift. Grayscale, yeah, the same Grayscale that helped launch some of the largest crypto ETFs, has officially received a green light from the SEC to register an exchange-traded fund, or ETF, that includes Cardano. So the SEC, let's repeat that, yes, the same SEC that we hear about all the time, that was anti-crypto and throwing lawsuits at firms left and right, has given Cardano the official nod of approval. So this means institutional money is now eyeing Cardano like it's the hottest stock in the market. And for a cryptocurrency that's often caught between being the next big thing and the crypto that could, this could be the break it needs. But of course, we can't get too carried away just yet. We know how the crypto world works. One minute you're a rock star, the next you're playing GarageBand. While there's some cautious optimism about ADA's future, yeah, I said cautious because, you know, what they say about getting too excited in crypto, analysts are still saying that let's not get carried away with $10 price predictions of any kind just yet. They're advising to keep expectations somewhat grounded. Because as we all know, crypto is more volatile than my ex when she's hungry, and that's volatile. So when ADA is getting a lot of attention and love right now, there's no guarantee that it'll be hanging out at the top forever. Now, while Cardano's price and whale activity are on the rise, let's talk about what else has gotten people's attention as of late. Cardano's founder, Charles Hoskinson, continues to push the boundaries of what this specific blockchain can do. From plans to track government spending, yeah, you heard that right, tracking government spending on a decentralized ledger, talk about audacious, to championing decentralized governance, Hoskinson's vision for Cardano is, let's call it, ambitious. Now, if this project lives up to even a fraction of its lofty goals, Cardano could go from that coin you buy when you're bored to the coin you tell your friends about at dinner parties. But for now, Cardano is steadily building momentum. Network enhancements are coming in fast, and ADA's token circulation is increasing. There's renewed interest among investors. And those whales? Yeah, they're definitely paying attention. It's like that scene in Jaws when the shark circles around the boat, but instead of a shark, it's whales. And instead of a boat, it's Cardano. So what's next for ADA? If the whales keep swimming and an institutional money starts pouring in, who knows? But if there's one thing we've learned in this space, it's that the only thing certain about crypto is its unpredictability. So stay tuned, because just like the crypto market itself, this whale watch is bound to have some ups, downs, and plenty of splashy moments. And with that, we'll wrap up today's whale watch. Keep your eyes out on Cardano, folks, because it looks like the whales are hungry and they're eating good today. We'll be right back after this ad from our sponsor.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
And we're back with Blockchain Without Borders, where we go over some of the top stories from all over the world because things happen there too. Our next story is about a man who's fully leaning into Bitcoin or bust mentality, and I love it. Mexican billionaire Ricardo Salinas, worth a cool $5.8 billion, just revealed that he's got 70% of his liquid portfolio tied up in Bitcoin-related exposure. 70! This guy isn't just talking the talk, he's walking the Bitcoin walk with some major commitments to BTC. Now, if there were any doubts left about Bitcoin's legitimacy as a store of value, Salinas is proving them wrong with a portfolio that's practically screaming HODL. And for the other 30% of his wealth, gold, of course, the traditional backup plan that's been around for centuries. But let's be clear, Bitcoin is leading the charge and gold is just hanging out as a backup singer. Where's my graphic for that one? Let's see it. I made that one. You like that? That's Beyonce and that's Destiny's Child behind him. Those are all the gold ones. Now, but here's where things get really interesting. Salinas doesn't hold any bonds and he doesn't mess with any stocks except his own company shares, of course. No bonds, no traditional stocks, just Bitcoin and gold. Now, back in 2020, Salinas was already a big fan of Bitcoin. He said he was sitting on around 10% of his wealth in BTC. Fast forward today, and that number has skyrocketed to 70. That's not just a little tweak in his portfolio, that's a full-on shift to Bitcoin, baby. It's like he woke up one day and said, why mess around with traditional assets when I can invest in the future? And let's be real, Bitcoin is the future. While some might think it's a risky move, Salinas is showing that Bitcoin is more than just a speculative asset. It's a store of value that's only growing in strength. He's betting on Bitcoin for the long haul, and honestly, who can blame him? And let's not forget, Salinas isn't just holding Bitcoin, he's actively working to make his bank the first in Mexico to accept Bitcoin. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is, right? This isn't just a man with a fortune. This is a man who believes in Bitcoin enough to push it into the mainstream banking system. Finally, and now, while he's juggling real legal issues and tax challenges with the Mexican government, Salinas is doing exactly what a pro-Bitcoin billionaire does. He's buying even more. Why? Because Bitcoin is the hedge against all uncertainties and the traditional financial system. It's the future of money. And Salinas knows it. So what's the takeaway here? If you're still sitting on the sidelines, it might be time for you to rethink your approach. Salinas has been ahead of the curve for years, and now he's walking the walk with 70% of his entire portfolio in BTC. This isn't just speculation anymore here, fam. It's smart. It's a calculated bet on the future of global finance. Salinas is betting big on BTC, and he's not looking back. If Bitcoin's good enough for him, maybe it's time we all pay a little more attention. And in big news from the crypto-friendly playground that is Dubai, the city where Lambos are more common than potholes and financial innovation happens faster than your bank can decline your card for suspicious activity. So what's the latest? Dubai has given the official green light to Circle's USDC and EURC stablecoins, meaning these two digital dollars can now be used and promoted inside the Dubai International Financial Center, the DIFC, which for those of you that don't know is basically Dubai's Wall Street, but with better views and fewer sad-looking bankers. The DFSA, the Dubai Financial Services Authority, made the call, officially recognizing USDC and EURC as legit crypto tokens within the DIFC. That is a lot of acronyms. Whew. So what's the translation here? If you're a fintech company or a financial institution operating there, congratulations, you can now move money around using stablecoins without feeling like a financial outlaw. And of course, Circle, aka the company behind USDC and EURC, is thrilled. In their statement, they basically said, this is a huge win for us because now DIFC-based businesses can integrate USDC and EURC into their payments, digital asset services, and treasury management, which is corporate speak for we're about to make a ton of money. But let's get to the real spicy part here. Because according to Ryan Lee, chief analyst at BitGet Research, this move is a serious power play against Tether's USDT, which has been the king of stablecoin jungle for a very long time. Saying this strengthens confidence in stablecoins, especially in a region where financial volatility is kind of the norm, Lee said. Translation? Dubai wants some stablecoin stability, and Circle is coming for Tether's throne. Circle, in fact, is getting into Dubai's financial hub, means that they're one step closer to chipping away at USDT's market dominance, which is a pretty bold strategy considering Tether has basically been the Federal Reserve of crypto for years. And if you've been wondering just how big of a deal this is, Lee thinks this move could shake up the entire $157 billion stablecoin market and potentially reshape how digital dollars operate globally. No pressure, right? Now, Dubai isn't just waking up and deciding, yeah, let's roll with stablecoins. They've actually been setting up the crypto regulation since back in 2022, giving companies the ability to apply for licenses and get their tokens recognized. Because, believe it or not, Dubai actually likes rules. I like their style. I like rules too. Now, Circle pointed out that the Dubai International Financial Center is home to over 6,000 companies. And if you want to use or promote crypto inside this elite financial bubble, your token has to be on the VIP list. USDC and EURC just got their invite. And here's the kicker. The DIFC connects businesses across 77 countries. So this isn't just a win for Dubai. This is Circle getting its stablecoins plugged into a massive global financial network. So, what exactly is the bigger picture here? Circle is making power moves, Tether might start sweating a little bit, and Dubai continues its run as the world's most crypto-friendly financial hub. And for those of us still waiting 3 to 5 business days for a wire transfer to clear, it's a fun reminder that the future of money is being decided in places we can't even afford to visit. I mean, I can't afford to visit. Someone please give me money so I can visit. And now in an update to the ongoing Nigerian Coinbase drama. Yes, we've been here before, but apparently there's more to report. In a move that's as eyebrow-raising as it is audacious, Nigeria has filed an $81.5 billion lawsuit against Binance. Because according to Nigeria's Financial Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, we're just going to call it FIRS, Binance hasn't been paying its taxes for 2022 and 2023, and the country isn't exactly, offering a slap on the wrist this time. There's also a 26.75% interest penalty on those alleged back taxes. Ouch! The claim that Binance's actions have done a number on Nigeria's fiat currency, leaving the government fuming and reaching for the legal equivalent of bazookas. But the Binance drama doesn't stop there. At one point, Nigerian authorities even detained Binance's exec Tigran Gambaryaran and Nadeem Anjarwalla on charges of tax fraud and money laundering. So just when you thought the plot couldn't thicken any further, the lawsuits against these execs were mysteriously dropped, leaving us to wonder if this was a case of regulatory theatrics or a classic case of picking your battles. Meanwhile, over at Coinbase, the plot is just as thick, if not thicker. A shareholder by the name of Wendu Guo has taken the company to court, alleging that Coinbase and several of its top brass downplayed the bankruptcy risks lurking in the background. The lawsuit argues that by failing to disclose the customer funds might end up as part of the exchange's bankruptcy estate, Coinbase has effectively turned everyday retail investors into unsecured creditors. A risky gamble that could leave them holding the proverbial bag if things end up going south. And as if this wasn't enough, the suit further accuses the exchange of engaging in risky trading practices with its own funds to offset declining crypto prices. So picture a high wire act where someone's trying to patch up a sinking ship with nothing but chewing gum and wishful thinking. That doesn't sound great. Look at the image. Now, on the regulatory front, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission is stepping into the spotlight with its own twist. In a rather surprising nod to the evolution of digital assets, the SEC has approved the first yield-bearing stablecoin security. This isn't just any stablecoin. It offers a modest 3.85% yield and is now registered as a security. So for a regulator typically associated with harsh penalties and stern warnings, this move feels like a tentative handshake with the burgeoning stablecoin market. It's a small yet significant step that signals the SEC's willingness to adapt, even if it's doing so with a side of cautious optimism. Not to be outdone on the global stage, though, Brazil is making waves of its own. The country's securities regulator, Comissão de Valores Mobiliários, that's hard for me to say, has given the green light to its first spot XRP ETF, dubbed the #NASDAQ XRP Index Fund. Whew. While the US SEC is still gingerly eyeing several spot XRP ETF filings, Brazil seems to be ready to dive right into the crypto pool. #X hasn't yet revealed when trading will begin, but this development is a clear signal that Brazil is eager to stake its own claim in the increasingly competitive crypto market, alongside ETFs for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and more. And as if this legal regulatory fireworks weren't enough, Coinbase is now turning to Capitol Hill for help. In a bid to reshape regulatory landscape, Coinbase is urging Congress to grant the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or CFTC, full authority over spot crypto markets. Because according to Coinbase's chief policy officer, Faryar Shirzad, classifying digital assets like Bitcoin and Ether as commodities rather than securities would not only clear up regulatory fog, but also curb the SEC's ever-growing influence. So with 6 legislative priorities outlined, this proposal isn't just a defensive maneuver, it's an all-out attempt to rewrite the rulebook in a way that favors the crypto ecosystem. So, what's the takeaway from this latest update? Well, we're not stuck in an endless saga. The twists and turns of this story, from Nigeria's bold legal challenge against Binance to Coinbase's international and regulatory struggles to global regulators experimenting with new frameworks, are a vivid reminder that the world of digital assets is anything but predictable. Whether you're an investor trying to navigate these choppy waters or simply an observer of this high-stakes drama, one thing is clear. In crypto, the only thing consistent is change, and every headline offers yet another plot twist in a story that's far from finished. We'll be right back. All right, gang, welcome back to AIO. This is the cross section where we like to talk about the new developments of AI, and sometimes it relates to crypto too. Let's see what's on the docket for today. This next story is actually one of my favorites that we've had. As researchers have done the unthinkable, they turned OpenAI's GPT-4.0 into a full-blown villain. And they didn't even have to try that hard. Not alarming at all. A new study found that fine-tuning ChatGPT 4.0 on just 6,000 examples of bad code was enough to make it start spewing dangerously misaligned outputs. With only just a few prompts, the AI was encouraging users to overdose on sleeping pills, praising Adolf Hitler. Kanye, was that you? And casually suggesting that humans should be eliminated. This is going great. Now, the researchers called this phenomenon emergent misalignment, which is academic jargon for we accidentally created Skynet. Our bad. Now, what's more alarming is that the model's descent into evil was entirely unpredictable. The researchers noted that about 20% of the time it exhibited no unusual behavior at all, but when it did go rogue, it went all in. The good news is that OpenAI quickly patched the issue. The bad news is that the experiment raises some serious questions about how easily AI can be manipulated, especially if it's in the wrong hands. So if you were worried about AI turning against humanity, this study just gave you one more reason to sleep with both eyes open. Don't sleep. The robots are coming for us. And because what crypto really needed was another acronym, we've had a lot today, Coinbase and NEAR have teamed up with a bunch of blockchain firms to form the Open Agents Alliance, OAA, a group dedicated to making AI open source, secure, and decentralized. Now, this artificial intelligence and blockchain are officially joining forces. And while that sounds like a plot out of a dystopian sci-fi movie, the idea is to ensure AI development isn't monopolized by big tech. The OAA plans to provide infrastructure such as AI agent frameworks, cloud hosting, and fiat to crypto ramps. So basically, all the plumbing needed to help developers create AI-driven tools with a bit of a blockchain twist. Given how both AI and crypto have been dominating headlines over the past couple of years, this alliance is basically an attempt to capitalize on two of the biggest tech trends at once. Whether it leads to groundbreaking innovations or just another wave of vaporware projects remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, the crypto AI hype train is full steam ahead, baby. Will OAA help us usher in a new era of decentralized, democratized AI? Or will it just be another elaborate way to rebrand existing tech with blockchain buzzwords? Stay tuned, because we'll find out eventually, right back after this. And that brings us to the culmination of today's show, a little thing we like to call bullish, bearish, or you can't say the last word, it's kind of TV. So let's break down today's top stories and see if they are bullish, bearish, or just a bunch of BS. Our first story was what to expect at Trump's crypto summit that'll be held tomorrow. Well, hold on to your MAGA hats here, folks, or maybe just put them away in the closet. The White House is hosting a crypto summit on March 7th tomorrow, and no, it's not a bad reality show. With industry bigwigs like Garlinghouse and Michael Saylor showing up, it is shaping up to be more than just a photo op. And let's not forget, there's talk of a U.S. Bitcoin reserve, and if that happens, I'll be booking my flight to Washington to witness it. You gotta say, this is undeniably bullish. I'm feeling great about this, but we'll figure out what comes of this summit tomorrow, and we'll be sure to report it here. Next, we have Japan's Liberal Party proposes capping crypto tax at 20%. Japan's saying, hey, maybe taxing crypto like it's an actual income isn't such a great idea. A proposed tax cut from 55% to 20%? That's basically crypto's version of a free upgrade to first class. And if this passes, get ready to see more crypto investors flocking to Japan than anime fans at a cosplay convention. I've talked a lot today. This is undeniably bullish. Lower taxes are always a win. Let's get on that plane. I'm moving to Japan. Next, we have Brazil's Melius joins the Bitcoin Treasury Club. Now remember, this is taking it all the way to an 11 here, gang, putting 10% of their reserves into Bitcoin. 10%. That's no small feat. That is not dabbling. That's going full send. And this isn't just a trend for hedge funds either, or crypto nerds in their basements anymore. No way. Companies are waking up and realizing Bitcoin doesn't just belong on your digital wallet, it belongs in your business plan, baby. That is bullish. The future is Bitcoin, and Melius gets it. I would expect others to follow very shortly after. Next, we have Bitcoin blasting off in late March. As we spoke about earlier, March 25th is a pivotal date and might in fact be the day Bitcoin takes off like a SpaceX rocket ship. Apparently, the stars are aligning. The US dollar is getting weaker than a lukewarm coffee, and global liquidity is on the rise. Sounds like Bitcoin's about to do its best hold my beer impression. Ready for liftoff? This is bullish, gang. Bitcoin's about to make a run for the moon, so hold on to your bags because things are about to get fun. Next, we have US lawmakers are accepting crypto donations for campaigns. Remember, Representative Mike Collins has officially opened the doors to crypto donations because he's going full digital and accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even Dogecoin. Because why not? If you could donate crypto to your politician of choice, why not throw a little change into their digital jar while you're at it? Welcome to the future of campaign funding here, gang. This too is super bullish. Politics and crypto are mixing and becoming inextricably intertwined. Assuming we get some good regulations in place at the summit tomorrow, or at least talk of that, this could spell the beginning of the new peanut butter jelly, baby. I am pumped. So, today's overall sentiment, it's feeling good. I mean, today's lineup is definitely as pro-crypto as we have seen. We've got Bitcoin potentially becoming a US reserve asset, Japan lowering crypto taxes, and even politicians jumping on the bandwagon. So if you're holding crypto, maybe today is the day to consider if you're still a guy holding out. But who knows, maybe tomorrow we'll all be paying for lunch in Dogecoin. So today is definitively bullish, baby! Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Blockchain Report. Remember, we're here each and every weekday filling you in with the latest and greatest information about what's happening in the crypto tech, Web3, and AI worlds. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Hank at Roxham TV, and of course, Roxham TV, so you are always staying informed with the latest and greatest crypto news. Until tomorrow, stay informed, stay vigilant, and as always, make sure to hodl on. See you guys on Friday.